dear ones, we come to you in love and with a clear understanding of the difficulties facing so many in these times of upheaval and change. Be not afraid, for everything is proceeding according to plan. The intense frequencies of light pouring onto Earth at this time are serving to expose and bring into universal awareness the many obsolete and false beliefs still comfortably residing in third-dimensional consciousness. As the people of the world become increasingly more enlightened, the outer scene will and must reflect this as higher and purer forms of everything. Heretofore undiscovered and advanced ideas regarding government, medicine, education, spirituality, work, environment, etc., will begin to manifest as world consciousness evolves more fully into light and truth. These times are forcing many to carefully examine their choices, and all who are spiritually ready are being guided to step more fully into enlightenment. However, there remain those who, although spiritually ready, are choosing to remain in the third-dimensional belief system, using the excuse of social position, family, friends, careers, etc., as their reasoning. They tell themselves that living spiritually is too impractical in a dog-eat-dog world. Many of you are in this situation right now and must make the choice. Do I really believe what I have learned about truth, or do I not? Mankind can no longer continue to live happily with one foot in the spiritual world and the other in the material. Third-dimensional consciousness and spiritual consciousness have been residing side by side for a very long time. However, this will be no longer possible as the Earth ascends into a higher dimensional resonance. It is time to make your choice, dear ones. Which side will you choose? Living truth can be difficult in the beginning when appearances seem to contradict everything about it. For a time, sometimes years, automatic responses based in lifetimes of programming will continue to manifest without thought, spewing forth as irritation, anger, disgust, judgment, and criticism. Never believe that you have failed when this happens, or go into resistance and self-condemnation, but rather simply, and with self-love, examine the beliefs underlying these responses, asking yourselves, what am I believing that is making me feel this way? Choose some word or action that can quickly shift your awareness out of negativity and into truth if you find yourself reacting in some habitual or unloving way. Quickly bringing to mind one word like error, hypnotism, false, separation, etc., or an action like bringing your hand to your heart can be the trigger that stops the process and helps you to realign. A particular word or action in and of itself has no power, but represents your intention to shift out of alignment with an old habit. Choose some word or action that resonates with you and don't be afraid to change it if it doesn't feel right. You will know the word or action that is perfect for you by an inner response to it. Become alert to old personal programming by noticing when and how easily it slips in. Example, you drive somewhere and find there are no parking spots. Without thought, you suddenly find yourself becoming irritated and angry toward the drivers or the owners of the store, and by the time you finally get to where you are going, you are carrying energies of anger and irritation, and a sense of separation. The moment you recognize that some old programming is beginning, use your special word or action. This will serve to nip it in the bud, so to speak, allowing you to step back, rethink the situation, and access it from a higher level. With time, your automatic responses will no longer reflect old programming, but will instead flow from a higher level, because you have done the work of retraining yourself to respond with truth. There often come situations that will leave you upset and fully immersed in old programming. If and when this happens, set aside time after things have settled, to take the event into meditation, examining without judgment, the hows and whys of your responses. Never judge, condemn, or hate yourself for some seeming failure, but rather realize that being on Earth is about experiencing and learning, and you are doing exactly that. In the beginning, spiritual awakening is very basic and three-dimensional, built around knowledge, pondering, books, classes, discussion, study, and simple practices. This can continue for lifetimes, depending upon the individual. These practices eventually serve to open inner doors that allow the flow of grace. Grace is the gentle and loving energy of divine consciousness, capable of automatically dissolving anything not in or of it. The spiritual journey then begins to unfold more through grace, rather than from any specific action. It gets easier. Living the spiritual life is never acting wholly around friends, relatives, or co-workers while trying to save, fix, or heal them by pointing out the error of their ways. Those around you never need know the truth you hold within, but those receptive will feel it in your energy of love, forgiveness, patience, and acceptance. This is when those who are ready will be drawn to ask you what it is that you know. These are the ones with whom you can begin to share, starting with just a little at a time. Even saying the word reincarnation during some ordinary conversation can be the seed that creates a small opening in the consciousness of a person ready for more, but who out of fear and tradition still holds himself in bondage to concepts of rigid religiosity and teachings that preach death as being a portal to eternal damnation or a cloud in some imaginary heaven, but only if rules are obeyed. Living the spiritual life simply means going about everyday ordinary tasks from the level of truth. It is a monastic life lived without the vows and dedication to one belief system. It is being in the world but not of it. Convents and monasteries were necessary when it was the only way to safely live a spiritual life, but this is no longer the case. It may be the right choice for some even today, but not for anyone who understands that a person carries their state of consciousness with them wherever they go. God is not in a material place, but is brought to that place through the consciousness of some individual or individuals. This is why there are certain places on the globe, chapels, churches, or sanctuaries that continue to hold an energy of peace and love. A person who moves in order to avoid unloving, mean people, will quickly find them again in the new place. Ponder that. It is difficult to remain out of judgment when you see the news, but know that living unconditional love does not mean loving troublemakers in the human three-dimensional sense of love as being emotion, attraction, and approval. You love with divine love, which means from the conscious realization of their oneness with Source and the reality of their true divine nature, in spite of any and all appearances to the contrary. Unconditional love never means aligning with ideas that do not resonate with your attained state of consciousness, nor does it ever require becoming someone's doormat, but neither does it give you carte blanche to stand on some imaginary soapbox at home or office, proclaiming that you hold the only correct beliefs. There are many paths up the mountain and all are valid. There are some who need the structure of organized religion to help them focus or get serious about the spiritual journey. Others have graduated beyond any need for others to tell them what to believe, and for them to stay, would block their evolution. Evolution is an ongoing process, and the beliefs you hold now may well become obsolete as you graduate into new and higher levels of understanding. Certain people or circumstances in your life may seem to hold power over you, leading you to believe that you are trapped and cannot move beyond or change something. Realize that anything you bestow power on, be it a person, place, or thing, will continue to hold that power until you and you alone remove it. Once power is given, it will continue to act as a power, maintaining and sustaining whatever issues are involved, simply because it continues to be fed and kept alive by belief and fear. Know, accept, integrate, and attain the consciousness that the Master and all real teachers of truth attained, that God alone is power. Because you are creators, you endow things with whatever power they seem to have. Nothing but the fullness of divine consciousness is or ever can be power, for in reality, absolutely nothing else exists. All appearances of duality and separation, whether good or bad, are reflections of material sense, conditioned mind interpretations of some divine idea. Each day do what needs to be done. Pay your bills, drive the kids to school, go to work, or whatever is required of you, but do these things without giving inordinate power to the outer scene. This never means that you do not step in if needed or guided in the human sense, but you do it with a realization that the one and only real power is present within you, and is the reality of who and what you are. This is the journey, stepping and falling until at some point, the fabric from which the falling is formed no longer exists. In reality there is no time, but in third-dimensional energy awakening seems to be a journey requiring time to retrain thinking and learn to see through outer appearances. Never pretend a state of consciousness not yet attained, but simply practice the truth the best you know how, translating the events of each day into the reality behind them. More and deeper realizations come as you are ready for them, because the practicing of what you know has begun the flow. Examine every unpleasant issue in your lives to find what you are still giving power to. No matter how seemingly insignificant something may seem to be, it is important to recognize it, because the tiniest bit of consciousness will always express itself. This is advanced spirituality. This is mysticism, and you are ready. A mystic is one who has realized his oneness with Source. Most organized religious groups do not teach the truth of oneness, firstly because most don't know it, and secondly because they would teach themselves out of existence were people to know they didn't need them. You are ready to come out from under the umbrella of domination in every facet of your lives. You are ready to see through the ignorance of an unenlightened three-dimensional consciousness that presents physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual issues as power over you. Examine your belief system honestly and thoroughly. Find any remaining concepts and beliefs hiding in the corners of your consciousness and shine the light of truth on them. It is time, dear ones, and you are ready. We are the Arcturian group,